Hello and welcome to Play Talk Repeat. I'm Oliver and I'm joined by Lewis, Niall, and Alex.
Hello.
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 So today we're reviewing Astro Bot. So there's a little bit about the game. It's developed by Team Asobi and published by Sony. It released on September the 6th, 2024, exclusively for PlayStation. That's pretty much it. There's not much more we can say about it, is there? So
Guess how many people worked at Asobi?
How many?
I
One at
know.
60.
Damn it.
No, it was 65, so
Oh, right,
you're both
okay.
wrong.
Damn it.
Ah.
I was gonna say 64.
Ah, well, there we
My
go.
Nintendo 64.
No.
64.
Oh.
Should we get into some opening statements? Would anyone like to volunteer to go first?
Go on, Alex, as you're drinking.
Cheers. Right, I give Mario Galaxy 3 10 out of 10.
I'll Galaxy 3.
Is that first 10 out
That's
of 10 for
essentially what this
PTO?
game is.
We must have had 10s on the Zelda podcast at some point. I'm sure we did, right?
Yeah, we did. Ocarina of Time got a 10
Okay,
from
yeah.
me. So this will be my second 10. No, game's fantastic. It didn't overstay its welcome. Loved all the throwbacks to all the PlayStation mascots and stuff. It was just a bloody good time, if I say so myself.
Bloody good time.
10 out of 10. Let's go with Lewis next.
I'm also dropping a double-digit banger, and I'm gonna give the game a 10 out of 10.
Oh, shit.
I don't remember the last. Actually, no, it's a stupid statement because I do remember the last time I enjoyed a game this much. It was like 4 days ago with Alan Wake. But the point I'm trying to make is it's been a long time since a new game was released, and it's just filled me with so much joy and happiness, and just I don't know. I felt great the entire time playing it. There was no point in the game where I was bored. I could have carried on going for another like 10 hours, honestly. It really has sort of shifted the focus I want game developers to put into games. I'm not necessarily saying make platformers, but I want these 15-hour experiences that feel like they were made with love and care and just lots and lots of effort into making exactly what they wanted it to be. And I really appreciate that. And it's really sad to say that I feel like we haven't had that in a long, long time. So yeah, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Incredible game.
Grant.
And an incredible experience.
Yeah, that's the thing. 60 quid, 15 hours, no problems.
No problem at all.
It can be like that, and that's fine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'll go next because I think Niall's not going to drop a double digit. So I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Give it a 10 out of 10.
3 10 out of 10.
Niall's going to give
What
it a
is this
3.
average going to be?
Niall's going to drop it to 6.75 with 3.
I'll find a way.
So yeah, 10 out of 10, pure joy. I really struggle to find a fault with this game at all. It is, in my mind, it is kind of perfect from start to finish. Like maybe we can unearth some negatives in the review at some point, but I can't find anything wrong with it. Like
I have a negative. It's just a weird one, but I'll get into it later.
So yeah, the PlayStation mascots, the music, the sheer love that's gone into the game, it's just great, perfect. Can't say anything more about it. Niall.
I will say that it's literally impossible for it to be a 6.75 now.
Okay.
The lowest it can be is a 7.75.
Okay.
Which is pretty crazy. So I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Very high. This is incredible.
Yeah, I thought it was overall a really fun game. Something which Lewis said there was that it was like a toy. That was something that they were exactly aiming to do. I'd highly recommend watching the Friends Per Second podcast where they had one of the leads on it to talk about it, and that was what they wanted to do. They just wanted to make a toy and bring joy, and they seem to have done that. So yeah.
Exactly. So what's our average then? If someone's got a calculator up, Niall, you had to hold up, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So so that's 38.
9.625.
9.625.
Nothing will ever surpass that. I don't
No,
think.
nothing.
Like genuinely.
No.
So what was your? Let's get into your negative then, Lewis. What was it?
Well, it's not a negative necessarily in the gameplay sense. It's my negative of the game is that it's brought up this stupid argument from Sony in that they seem to believe they do not have any sort of IPs or any characters that they can use to make games about. And Astro Bot is meant to be an appreciation of all of these characters that PlayStation have, and it's made it very apparent that a lot of people still miss these characters because as soon as they played this game, they've either gone back and played all these games that they've missed because like, oh my god, I remember this character, I love them, I want to play it right now, or it's introduced new characters to them that have made them then want to go and play these games. And I think I love that they put all this appreciation into bringing these characters back and like bringing like an appreciation to them and like respecting PlayStation's history. But I don't know why we're making a game about it. And then Sony are gonna be like, don't have any games, don't have any games, don't have any characters, don't have any IPs. I don't like we just don't have any. And I don't get it. Like I would have thought doing all of this would have sort of shifted Sony's like I don't know like ideas and ideology behind like the games and franchises that they have and sort of go like, oh, people sort of miss this shit. Why don't we do something with it? But I don't know. For some reason, Sony, even after this, still seem to believe that they just don't have anything. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. And again, that's not a negative of the game per se. It's just like something I've noticed that it just seems like a very obvious move to make on their part to do stuff with what they've introduced in this, and I don't see that happening because Sony seems to be incompetent for some reason.
Yeah, Team Asobi seem to understand the love of PlayStation more than PlayStation.
More than
themselves
PlayStation,
do.
yeah, which just doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, which is crazy.
For me,
oh, go on.
I actually had so you know like you're saying like all these people that like played Astro Bot and like were reminded about all these other characters and everything. It made me realize that I hadn't played anything PlayStation or Sony until the PS4. I had no clue about the majority of these characters.
Oh, did you know?
Yeah, the majority were either introduced in the PS4 generation or pretty much the PS4 generation, or were like essentially third party, like the Persona characters.
Yeah.
Like, I was lost almost the entire time. I felt like, oh, that's a deep cut for someone, not me though.
I think that says something about again though about how many IPs and franchises that Sony have, and they have so like genuinely such an incredible library that is like beloved around the world. But like I said, they just for some reason don't seem to get that, and it's taken Astro Bot for like people to be vocal about it, I guess, and be like, oh shit, I actually love all these characters and all these games. So I don't know. I just wish Sony would do something with it. It's very weird.
Maybe something will change now that the reactions have come out and
I mean, maybe. I don't think people can understand how impressive it is that it's. Is it still sitting at 94 on Metacritic, or is it like a 93 now? It's like.
Well, with our review, it's going to be a 95.
That's true. Yeah, it's still a 94. I don't know. I think people don't quite get the magnitude of that because they always compare it to like obviously stuff that sits at the top at like Ocarina of Time and stuff like that. But they have to remember that when those games got reviewed back in the day, it was by like 20 review sites, if that. Now we're like talking like upwards of like 100, and there's still that stability across all those reviews. That's just kind of something incredible. Like we really do not see this often, and to be done by a game like this, that I'm sure a lot of people at first. Because now I mentioned before, like the pricing of it, like being 60 quid for 15 hours. I'm sure a lot of people probably saw that and was like, "No, like I'm not wasting 60 quid on a 15-hour game," which I think is something that people tend to do now. Whether if people seem to believe now, if your game isn't like 50, 60 hours long, then it's not worth the money that you're paying for it. Which I think is
Ubisoft's fault.
Yeah, no, genuinely, I think it is like Ubisoft's fault and just like any company that's followed. But I think Astro Bot has sort of made that clear that if you just make something really good that's full of like passion and care, then it's just worth the money. Yeah, and you can't really argue it. Yeah.
I have got one negative I've been thinking about while we've been talking about it. There wasn't one primal character involved at all.
Oh no,
that's crazy.
That was very
sad. No, there's some that are like going to be like free bots in the future. I don't think that's one of them. I know Beyond Good and Evil. Jade is going to be one.
Did you say that just to rub it in? There's going to be some new bots in the future.
I got a little bit of hope then for a second, and he just took it straight away from it.
Well, they might do that thing with the eggs and then put that dog or whatever it is.
The gargoyle.
Well, I don't know what it is. I've not played the game.
Well, you should do. It's a fantastic game.
I watched Lewis play some of it, and I'm not doing that.
I am excited that they're adding post-game DLC and stuff. I think that is something as well that a lot of games should do. Like, I'm not against like paid DLC, but I don't think there's anything wrong with releasing like a free update that just gives you a couple extra things to do when the game is done. Because they're adding the speedrun levels, and they're adding more bots, and they're just adding like some quality of life stuff, which I just think is really good. It's coming out this year as well, so within the next couple months.
I'm fine with it as long as the game that you get, you start with, feels complete, and Astro really does.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like one of those games where the content was necessarily cut because and like just sort of shifted to later. Because like I feel like a lot of games do that where it's content that could have been in the game, but they just choose not to release it because they're just like, nah, we're just sort of like we don't want to give it you now.
Yeah.
Whereas this feels like we'll just give you something a bit extra later on just to prolong the life of the game after everyone's beaten it, and then you can just sort of have a bit more fun after the fact. I think they just want people to focus on the main experience and just enjoy that, and then they'll just give us the rest later on, which I think is smart.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it, definitely. So, have we got any like favorite moments or anything from the game? 'Cause obviously, there's quite a lot going on.
When I found out I could have costumes and I could be a monkey from an ape from Ape Escape, or I could be Sly Cooper. That made me smile.
Yeah, I saw the Sly one and I thought Alex is gonna fucking love that, definitely. I didn't put the costumes on that covered his face. I didn't like it because you couldn't see his emotion. You know what I mean?
But the problem which annoyed me though was when you got a power up and it just got rid of the costume.
Oh, did
I
it?
wish they could have incorporated the costume.
Not for me. Well, I got very lucky early on. My second costume was Golden Astro.
Oh,
So I just used Golden Astro throughout the entire game. Pretty much.
I used what did I use? I used the ape, and then I used Ratchet for a bit, and then I used Sly.
I think my one thing with the costume is the game would have benefited more if they didn't have costumes and they just let you play as any of the bots that you discovered.
Yeah,
that would have been sick. You could just go in like in the crash site, punch one of the bots, and that's it. You're that bot.
Yeah, literally. Because at first I thought it was kind of fair because the couple costumes that I got weren't character related. They were just genuine costumes that were different. But then when I started getting costumes of characters, I was just sort of like, why can we not just choose the character we want to play? You've got like 300 plus characters that you could just choose from. And again, that's something they could add in an update, maybe, I guess. Or maybe they can't because it would affect the models or something. I don't know.
It might be due to licensing as well. Like
also
could be massive deal. Like the whole like so Spyro appears as like a bot in the game, but it's not a bot. It's literally just Spyro.
Yeah, it's literally just Spyro.
That'll be down to licensing issues. So they'll say you know the character can appear in the game, but you can't play as them.
Yeah.
Because people want to play them in our games, kind of thing. So. But yeah, I like that they're still included, like ones like Spyro, even though they obviously couldn't fully incorporate him into like the Astro Bot look. But it was still nice to see him.
It's one of those things as well, where even though obviously it's third party, Crash and Spyro and stuff. Not Spyro, but Crash is like a third party game now and stuff. Yeah. It all did come from Sony. Like you forget that they were PlayStation like mascots, PlayStation franchises. And I know there's been like a big shift in like the way like licenses work and stuff now, but I don't know. It's just very rewarding seeing all of these like characters that Sony made and getting to like appreciate all that, and show off the characters that they created basically. Even if like Naughty Dog refused to do anything with any of like their old IPs or whatever, it's nice to be reminded that they do exist, and that a lot of people did play these as kids and stuff. I don't know if my favorite moment outside, like story wise or gameplay wise, was probably, and this might sound stupid, either the final boss fight or the credits themselves, or just before the credits, like this is spoilers by the way to anyone listening to a review, putting Astro back together, was just a really sweet moment, and I genuinely felt like if it was the right moment, I could have teared up. I didn't, but the game was like set the tone enough and it was sad enough where I was like, if this was any other time, I could potentially cry from the little robot being put back together, because I think it was done really, really well, and that was honestly probably my favorite moment. I just, it's difficult to like pin down exactly like which moments are the best because the whole game was just good.
It's just a good time from start to finish.
But I'd
I think
argue
I've
yeah,
got
that
another one when you're
that
done.
part was
Lewis.
that part was really enjoyable. For
Just
me.
before we move on to Alex, but I want to talk about that moment. Like that was a very sad moment at the end there, where like Astro with the credits rolled and Astro
the
was
credit.
sad.
I'm surprised they did that.
What
for a
makes me
kid's
laugh is
game.
Niall thought that was the end.
He did.
Well, the reason why I thought it was the end is
You
because
thought-
I assumed
you
that
had
at
to
least
collect everything.
Lewis and Oliver had collected everything
Yeah.
before they got to the end credits. So I
No.
thought that legit because they weren't
You got the
stacking
bad
tall
ending.
enough. I got the bad ending.
But that would have
and,
been
like, I'd have
so
to-
sad though, man. Because there will be loads of people who aren't plotting this, who aren't getting everything. Imagine the majority of people getting that ending where Astro
was gonna
was
say,
dead.
Especially when the game is intended for children as well. It is a kids' game at the end of the day. So that would have been a brutal ending. That would have been like Toy Story 3, ending, except they all did die. They all got put in the furnace and they just died. It just ended there. Like that would have been awful.
Yeah, everything leading up to that. So again, it's massive spoilers for anyone listening. Probably should put this in the title, but it's like massive spoilers. So like the entire thing leading up to that, where you did the space fight in all the different consoles and stuff like that, it was really good. The whole final boss fight was just a really good time, even though the boss itself was kind of basic. It's just an alien.
Yeah, the actual boss design was weird. I was thinking this the entire game that they made that the main villain of the story, but every other boss that you fought was infinitely more interesting and cooler as a design. Anyway,
Yeah,
I didn't really get that.
I couldn't.
It
I,
might be
I
because
couldn't
it's
think
for
of.
kids, like because
Yeah,
his name was like Bully Gonzalez or whatever. So
Bully Gonzalez.
It was something like that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So just like a little annoying bully guy, I suppose.
He was a little bully.
Because the only other thing they have to do is they have to pick a PlayStation villain kind of thing from like one of the games. So like who
Microsoft.
Do you pick? Yeah, Microsoft. Xbox is the
Maybe that was the symbolization of Microsoft because he was green.
It was green. To be fair. So go on, Alex. What have you got?
So as soon as I finished the first world and that level opened up where you could play Ape Escape, essentially, that put the biggest smile on my face. I was like, I'm essentially just playing Ape Escape. And I know Oliver hasn't played Ape Escape, and he was like, I want to play Ape Escape just because of that.
It's on my list. I want to play Ape Escape because it was fun. Because I remember I had Joe, remember Demo 1 from like Astro Playroom, where you had to fight the T-Rex? I had that demo, and on that demo was an Ape Escape demo. And
really?
I remember playing it when I was a kid, but I only played it a little bit. You know, you don't stick to anything when you're a kid. But yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna play through it now. Without a doubt, they're on my list.
It's mad that like the demo discs has like gone away now. Like obviously it's like a thing of the past, but like I used to play a Sly Cooper demo, and that's how I learnt about Sly, and then I played Sly on the PS2.
Yeah, you still get demos, don't you? But it's like it's not
really.
game.
Not
It's
You
not
bet. Yeah, you barely get demos. I don't remember the last time.
You get early access now. It's not like a
like,
demo.
The last time I could think of was Final Fantasy, which gave you like you got to play the first hour, I think.
I'm sure there was a Switch one recently. I can't remember what it was. Alex, you played it. I can't remember what it was.
Played Epic Mickey.
Epic Mickey, that's the one. Epic Mickey demo. That is a game that has already been out though.
Yeah.
You get a lot of demos on Steam.
There's like Steam Next Fest as well. That they.
Well, the Steam's Next Fest is huge. But one thing which games are just doing nowadays is they're releasing like what they're calling prologues, which are essentially demos to get to the top of like most popular.
Yeah.
So they'll release like the first half an hour or hour, and it'll be a prologue for free, and then you get to play the rest of the game afterwards.
I think I'm going to go completely off topic here, but I think my favorite demo of like recent memory was the Resident Evil 7 one, which it's not actually like nothing that happens in the demo happens in the game, but it kind of gives you an idea of how it controls and stuff like that, and the kind of atmosphere. Like, I think that's good because when you play a demo and you actually then buy the full game and you get to the part where you've already played, it's like I've already played this. You know what I mean? But if they made one where it's just completely like separate from the main story but still in the same kind of world, that's really good.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up a point actually. I don't know if this is a negative, but it is something I noticed based on. Well, sorry, based on what you said, it made me remember that like the first level obviously was the Ape Escape one, right? Which I thought was really, really good. But then every one after that, and I know it's because of it is Sony's biggest IPs, and it's what Sony is known for is very story driven narrative games, at least in recent years. That's just the way it is. I did feel like the variation of level in terms of those last levels of each world were a bit boring in comparison to the Ape Escape one, because after that, every single one of them was very much either a Nathan Drake or a Kratos or
I'm not.
Aloy.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to argue like the point that that Ape Escape wasn't the best one. It was, but you got the like so Aloy, Nathan Drake. They were very much the same. Yeah, but the Loco Roco one was really fucking good.
No, the Loco
Yeah.
Loco Roco one was. I was gonna bring that. Oh, that's why I didn't mention it in those three. Then I was gonna say Loco Roco again. I just felt like all 5 games should have been different types of game rather than 3 of them just being linear, story-driven, third person action. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I feel like they all should have had a different.
It kind of makes you realize that the current franchises of Sony are all very, very similar.
Exactly. And I thought that's why I thought it was really weird that they started with Ape Escape, because Sony do not speak about Ape Escape ever. They do not bring.
I thought they were gonna do something like like a PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Like I thought that's why I thought they started with Ape Escape.
Yeah, that could have been something smart as well. Like I just feel
Like
like
they could have done Sly, where it's like the stealth type
I just feel like
thing.
they could have tackled it in many different ways, and I feel, and again, it's not to say it's bad. It makes sense why it was Nathan Drake and Aloy and stuff, because
those are the biggest IPs.
Yeah, and they love Aloy for some reason. Sony seem to think that Horizon. No, I don't know if I should say this. Sony seems to think that Horizon is a bigger game than it is. I feel sometimes. I feel like they want Horizon to be the game of all time. And I don't think it is. I'm not saying people don't like it and it doesn't do really it sells well, I'm sure. But it's like
24 million units. Zero Dawn sold.
Really? I don't know, maybe it's a thing where numbers it speaks and it really is just like the GOAT, but it always feels like they try and promote it as the PlayStation game that you need to play and should play. And that always just feels weird to me because it isn't.
So have you played them?
I've played the first one, and no, I didn't finish it, so I don't know if that ruins my opinion.
It doesn't necessarily ruin your opinion of it. It's the thing is, people do play them, and people do play them to the end. Like I agree with you. Like Horizon is not the best franchise to do by far.
Yeah, because they saved it to last and everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's in like the top, even in the top 5, to be honest with you. But I do enjoy it, and it's just it's their kind of Ubisoft game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It's their open world thing where you collect everything on the map and all that kind of thing. It's just that, and that's what people go to it for. But yeah, no, I kind of agree. It wasn't the best thing to end on. I was hoping, because I genuinely, up until right before that last level, I didn't know what they were going to do with it. But then I remembered. We haven't seen Aloy yet, so I kind of cringed inwardly. But it was fun. It was okay. I like the boat.
It was still fun for sure. Like the levels were still really just like finely tuned and finely crafted. Like it was a great time to play. It was just had me thinking like you could have done so much more with these levels, like you did with Loco Roco and Ape Escape, which were like vastly different gameplay styles.
I think the God of War one was different enough in itself as well. That was different enough. I think it's between Nathan Drake and Horizon.
Because they were both like shooting basically. Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to split them up between with three things between them, but they did feel very similar for these. And these are the levels that are supposed to sum up every world kind of thing, and that's a big finish before you go back and put your pieces of your PS5 back together.
I just hope that Sony see this genuinely and just go, which probably if it's just bringing these games to PlayStation, what's it called, Plus?
Yeah,
because they're still slacking with that. They do release stuff on there, but it's so slow. They release games like once in a blue moon, random games.
Yeah, it's turned out to be like one PSP game a month now.
You need the biggest tier, I think. Or is it the second highest tier?
No, it's the middle one, I think.
It depends. If you want to play PlayStation 3 games, you need the highest one because you need the cloud, because they can't put any PS3 stuff onto
which I still think is silly. I refuse to believe. I know this is off topic. I know they say the architecture's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. If Sony wanted to, they could do it. I'm sorry, but they could. They could put the money into figuring how to emulate it. I know it would be effort, but they could do it. And I know, realistically, it's probably not worth the money because it's one of those things where people want it. and no one will use it. I do get that very much.
Yeah, when was the
But-
last time you used Nintendo Switch Online? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. But like, it is just annoying though that they always say, "Oh, it can't be done. It's too difficult."
Yeah,
When it's like, no, you have money.
Definitely the company that care less about backwards compatibility. For a company that has this game celebrating all their heritage. Where,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
that heritage is inaccessible.
After Sony's recent announcement and the shit they're getting online, maybe this will make them go, "Oh, we have to do something to
Nah,
claw
well-
our way back in here."
The green light Concord too. That's what I'm thinking.
Imagine. Just to rub it in even more.
Oh yeah, there was no Concord Astro Bots, was there? That was very sad.
No, there was.
That would've
There
been
was
really
in the
funny.
graveyard.
In the graveyard.
Yeah.
Imagine if they like put like a special Concord bot in there because it just released. It was like, oh shit, guys! But they removed it last second, so no one ever knows.
It'll be in the DLC.
Honestly, I mean, again, it'd be really funny if they did. I wonder who they are going to add in the DLC. Do we know? Oh no, wait, no, we do. I
Yeah,
think
there's
We
like
know
Beyond
some of them.
Goodwill and well,
Rayman.
Rayman, yeah.
Rayman.
yeah,
Rayman.
It's like all the Ubisoft ones, isn't it?
yeah. It's because it was in the credits at the end of the game or something, and none of those characters were in the game,
Yeah.
but they were in the credits, so they will be in the game presumably.
I mean, I'd like them to make like a Rayman level would slap though, wouldn't it?
It would, and again, that
It
would have been
would.
like a huge, like that would have been really cool if it was like that's what I mean. They're just you could have done 5 different types of level, and you didn't. For some reason.
The had a big focus on Parappa the Rapper as well. The could have just done a Parappa the Rapper level.
I didn't.
Oh yeah,
right,
played as Proper the Rapper as well.
I really didn't understand this game. Like you just said, then seemed to have like a heavy focus on Parappa the Rapper for some reason,
Yeah.
even though it didn't really utilize Parappa the Rapper. And also, I'm not saying Parappa the Rapper isn't cool, but it's also Parappa the Rapper. I don't know why. Like the last bot in the game is a Parappa the Rapper character.
Yeah.
Why?
I didn't know what. I honestly, I thought it was gonna be a. Oh, shit, what was the old CEO of PlayStation gonna be called? Ken something. I can't remember his name. I don't know. It's gone. But I genuinely thought it was gonna be him.
I mean, honestly, that. Oh, no, I came them for Ken Kutaragi, I think.
Yeah,
it is.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, anything. Yeah, just like a reference or just like something like that people would recognize. I feel like there's a lot of people who wouldn't recognize Onion Man from
Onion
Pop
Man,
the
yeah.
Rapper.
No, I had to Google it.
I didn't know there was any Papa Rapper characters in the game.
That's what I mean.
There
You
you
get Parappa themselves in a
I don't know
level.
what they look like.
It's like a little
Exactly.
dog with an
No, but
orange
that's
He's
the
a
point.
dog with a
That's the
beanie.
point. That was right. That's the point I was making. Is it's Parappa the Rapper. I don't think that many people know who Parappa the Rapper is. So I don't understand why they made it like a weird focal point of the game to be like, oh, the final character is Onion Man from Parappa the Rapper.
What?
You're meant to like cheer after a hard level as well, which I respected, by the way. It was a cool level.
Yeah.
I
That
just
was a
felt-
cool level.
I just
It
felt
reminded me of
really-
like the end of like Mario 3D World.
The darkest.
Champions
Oh, right,
Road.
oh, the 3D.
Oh, I was gonna say
world.
Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
Or Odyssey. I haven't played Odyssey in that long, so I can't remember.
Yeah, well, the last level in Odyssey was the darker side of the moon, and it was basically the same. It was just an absolute gauntlet.
Yeah,
You
it was
have to
tough.
finish
Oh
it,
yeah,
start to
yeah,
finish.
yeah. I remember now.
But yeah, no,
Speaking
it
of
was
gauntlets, what do people think about the gauntlet levels in Astro Bot?
well, the circle square.
Yeah.
I loved them.
I enjoyed them.
I thought they were all great. I loved all of them.
I thought some of them were less frustrating than some of the actual levels in the game. I found.
I was gonna. There was one. I think it might have been on the square level, or the circle level. There was one level in one of those that was infinitely harder than every other level of
Was
those
it where you
that
had
I
to
played.
get Teddy?
I don't remember.
I remember having trouble
Teddy was
getting Teddy.
triangle.
There was just one level in one of those worlds that took me a while because it was just really difficult compared to any of the other ones. And I had to restart that shit like a lot. They were really fun levels. I like levels like that. I like challenge levels, and I like levels. I like just platforming levels that just test your skill of how fast and how well can you do this thing. I think it's just like a really nice little little test of your ability, and just shows like how good you've gotten at the game. And I thought it like broke up the gameplay quite well. Like rather than obviously having the story focused elements of the actual levels, you just got these little fun gauntlets.
Speaking of difficulty,
Oh, go
go
on.
on.
I was gonna say I didn't really understand half the time how I locked the levels. Like I don't know about you, but because I guess if you just wait till the end, maybe it just unlocks like normal. But half the time it felt like you just aimlessly flew around that hub part
Not
until
waiting for the meteor.
Yeah.
something appeared. I didn't really quite know how to trigger it. I would just hope that something would
I,
appear.
yeah, I was just
eventually.
flying around.
I think they
Yeah.
just dropped as you completed levels. So like the plan, Sony's plan would have been like you complete a level and then you go back and then you see this asteroid come in, or you see the line of asteroids that you've got to get there quickly.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it just felt random sometimes, where I was confused how to trigger
Yeah,
it.
there was one time where it took me ages to trigger it because after a level, a little bot on an asteroid were flying, and so I ran into it, and then it started doing a timer, and I couldn't see what the timer was related to at all, and so I thought, oh, it must be nothing, but when I finished the whole world, I came out and it said I was missing one bot. And so I went back in and I just had to fly around for ages, and eventually the circle of asteroids appeared.
Yeah.
But yeah, on to difficulty. I will state, I am not a platforming boy. I found this game harder than all of yous easily anyway. Like I thought it was quite difficult in some cases, but I felt like sometimes either in levels or from level to level, the difficulty spike could be drastic, which was very frustrating, and it took me out of the flow state sometimes. Like one checkpoint, you'd literally jump over two guys and you get to another checkpoint. Another checkpoint could be like 30 seconds away, and you'd have to like go through loads of hazardous shit, and it would be very difficult. I don't know if you guys found that as well.
I'd say it's similar to kind of Celeste in the way that they will have had a idea in mind of the obstacles that you've got to complete before you get to the next checkpoint. They'll see it as like one run kind of thing. So yeah, some are going to be like further apart than others, especially if there is, like you say, like hazards and like a platforming challenge that you've got to do. You will have to get to the end of it. I didn't sense any difficulty spikes in the normal levels. It was only like in the challenge, like the circle, square, like cross ones, where it's meant to be hard. I feel like that those, like I think Lewis said before, some of them were ridiculously difficult, and some of them you can do first try. But in the actual levels themselves, I didn't sense any kind of difficulty change. I don't know if I'm alone.
There was definitely some times where I died and I was surprised by how far back I went. But also there were other times as well where that was because I clearly saw the path to go get an Astro Bot, well, just a bot, and I diverted from the golden path before I reached the checkpoint. So I would then get back really far, which is on my end, obviously. What we can do, we can talk about the gameplay of Astro Bot, which I think we've neglected to somewhat. First of all, I would like to ask what people's favorite and least favorite power-ups were.
Power-ups. I did think about this the other day, like which was my favorite, because they make you use them all at the end, don't they? So my favorite was the ball, and I think it got underutilized.
That was probably my least favorite.
I thought the ball got. I did feel it got underutilized until it had an entire level based around it, which was that volcano
level. That was one
one,
of my favorite levels.
which I thought sort of made up for the fact that it really wasn't there that much.
But you got to remember, all the other power-ups had their own levels as well. Like, for example, the frog
yeah, and they were
gloves.
used a lot.
Yeah, if they were used in a level, they were used for the entire level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite power up, I think, was
it's difficult. This, I think it was either very basic, the frog boxing gloves, just because I felt like it was really satisfying to hit things. Obviously, the haptic feedback and stuff like that helps massively, but I just felt like it was really, really satisfying to hit things. Either that or the stopwatch to slow down time.
Oh, that was good.
I thought all of the mechanics that involved slowing down time were done incredibly well, even coming down to beating enemies, because the projectiles that they throw now become things for you to like jump on and interact with. And I just thought that was really, really smart and really, really cool. So I think one of those.
The enemies shooting out the plates and knives and forks and stuff like that, and it's just
it's
so well done.
I think I don't see many games utilize slow motion very well whenever they do it, and I think this game just did a really, really, really good job with it.
The stopwatch for me was definitely my favorite, and you know what it made me fiend for was a Flash game. Not like a Flash game that you play on the browser, like the Flash.
The Flash.
You know?
The Flash.
Oh,
yeah.
like
when you'd punch an enemy and it would like explode but then slow down again.
Yes.
Like this
Very
felt
satisfying.
like it could be the presentation of a speedster mechanic in a speedster game.
Mm.
And I thought that that'd be really cool. My two least favorite, which will lead me on to another point, are the dog and the chicken. I would say my two least favorite.
Basically the same one, but in different.
Yeah.
You've hit nail on the head there.
There you go.
My main point with this game, criticism with this game, is the base movement set. I feel like if you were to compare it, and I think a lot of people will compare this game to Mario Odyssey, the movement set is like drastically reduced. Like in terms of what you can actually do with Astro, you can essentially jump and glide, and that's pretty much it. You can't really do anything else. So these power-ups, which are to essentially double jump with the chicken, I mean, you could argue that the height's a bit higher, or dash forward with the dog. Like these, I think I would argue are stuff that should be included in the base movement set to begin with, because there just wasn't really any sort of expression. And also the main thing as well is, for me, even though I was shit at the game, and I played the game for a long time, I didn't feel like my ability to control Astro was improving over time. It felt like from the first level, I was controlling Astro the same as in the last level as well. Maybe I was like tackling enemies a bit different as I learned about their patterns, but in terms of the actual movement itself, it was pretty much the same. Whilst with Odyssey, I played through the entire game, and I was still learning about stuff you can do when I was doing the balloon mode. Like what actual like movements you can do, and like how you can express yourself in different ways, and like get like to different parts of the level, and then like going back and replaying the game, how you can cut out like loads of the level and that sort of thing. Like that felt like it was just completely missing from this game, and therefore it made those abilities feel like. And there was sometimes like the chicken one I think was used like 3 or 4 times. I think it was used more than the dog one, despite being introduced later. Like these felt like these weren't special. Weren't special. Like I mean, if you compare that to the time stopping one, like I think there's a massive like quality difference in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when it comes around to the dog and the chicken. So first of all, the chicken is quite similar to the balloon power up, in the fact that it just makes you go higher, but you just got less control over it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the balloon power up.
But the
she used like twice.
That was
I
essentially
only
the
remembered
Mario
it.
Galaxy as well.
I only remembered it because I played Astro this morning to get footage. That's the only reason I remembered it. I completely forgot about it otherwise. But so the thing is, the chicken and the dog. Not a lot. The issue is with platformers and stuff like that. And this one, there's not an awful lot of an originality. The time stopping power up, fine. That's original. The frog boxing glove, yeah, it's original. But everything else has kind of been done before by Nintendo. And the chicken and the dog were done in Mario Sunshine. They were full,
it was just
they were full attachments,
the nozzle.
and
the
Astro
nozzle.
doesn't do them as well, in my opinion, because obviously the one that made you go forward is infinite until you run out of water, rather than just having just a dash forward, and the chicken just didn't feel like why is the chicken making me go up? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What
Yeah,
I hated
yeah.
as well about the chicken in particular, like that, there was like in terms of like the abilities and how they were implemented to the game, like I'm fine with all of them. But with the chicken, the fact that you had to hold on to it for a certain amount of time made it very frustrating because there was no real feedback. I mean, it would like sparkle when you had held it for long enough, but there was no real feedback of how long you had to wait for that. So sometimes I was holding it down and then releasing it too early because I needed to like dodge something, and I would just like fall to my death. And because you've started it as well, you can't restart the timer until you land on a surface. So I thought that was done not particularly great either.
But I agree in terms of like least favorite power up, the dog definitely without a doubt for me. It just felt it's just a dash forward. You know what I mean? It didn't really do much for me. I don't think it's good that you can smash through stuff with it and smash through enemies, but I don't know. It just didn't feel that great compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
I'd just say the balloon after you've mentioned it. Just 'cause I forgot about it and thinking about it.
Relevant.
Well, it was just like you said, the chicken power up, except you had less control and you just sort of had to.
No, I said you had
jump
less control with the chicken power up than you did
Oh, with the
balloon.
chicken. Oh, right.
If you remember the level with the balloon, so remember when at one point I can't. If it might have been like the boss level or something, I can't remember. At one point you've got to dodge lasers while you've got the balloon power up, so you're going up, and then you've got to press it to go down and stuff like that. Like that.
Oh yeah.
That tipped it for me, where I think the balloon power up is better than the chicken because you couldn't do that with the chicken power up.
Oh yeah, I guess.
You go up and don't go down.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree. Yeah, I agree with Now's whole point in that it doesn't feel as rewarding throughout the game. Like Astro's behavior and Astro's just the way he moves and the way he does stuff isn't as, especially with Mario Odyssey. I think it's specifically to Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
I think Mario Odyssey sort of reinvented the way, like, platformers like can be done in terms of like character movement and stuff. Because like Now said, you go back and play Odyssey after playing it one time, and it's a completely different game just because of how quick you are at doing things now and how much you can skip and how you can reach places that you weren't able to before because maybe you needed a power up before, but because you've sort of mastered the movement system in Mario Odyssey, you can now reach places that I don't want to say you shouldn't be able to reach because obviously they intend you to be able to reach it if you got to that skill level or whatever. But I think a lot of the movement and stuff is a lot more rewarding in Mario Odyssey. And I think Niall is right that this game is lacking in that, but I do think the power ups make up for it because I do think they distributed the power ups very well, and I really like. I know, like obviously, as the game came to an end, they sort of were reusing power ups more, but for like at least like 2/3 of the game, pretty much every time you got a power up, it was a new power up. Like it was a
Yeah.
completely different power up that you hadn't seen, which I thought was really impressive. Because a lot of games like this would sort of hand you most of the power ups, not initially, but quite early on, and then you just sort of recycle through them constantly. So I did enjoy the way it was like spread out.
I think it was like a necessity though, because I think that if we're to use like Mario Odyssey again, whenever you get a power up in that game, which is essentially using different enemies,
Yeah.
like they're designed in a way where you can use them in so many different ways, and
Yeah.
you can but with these power ups, they are pretty much one trick ponies in how you can actually use
Oh yeah,
them.
for sure.
Yeah, and so the kind of it's kind of like, I mean, it is, the game is getting praised for like the, oh, here's a really cool new thing, okay, here's another cool new thing, like here's the shiny new toy. But I think that it was also out of necessity as well, because the actual power-ups themselves aren't that deep. I think
Yeah.
that the time one is a slight exception because you can use it in slightly different ways, like in how you in combat, which I thought was quite interesting. But yeah, other than that, I honestly, I don't think the power-ups were particularly good, but I think it was because of the moveset in
Yeah.
particular. Like, I mean, because like, you can look at, like, if you take any bog standard platformer nowadays, like I've been playing through A Hat in Time recently, the moveset in that game is more diverse and interesting, and the abilities that you get in that game, are not as interesting or well polished, but they're like different from like just adding stuff that should be in the base moveset anyway. I did want to go further and give another rationale as to why I gave it an 85, 8.5.
Can I tell you what my favorite power up is yet?
I was actually thinking
No.
about not letting you do that, but you
Oh,
know
thanks.
what?
I thought you already did. To be fair.
No,
No,
no one
no,
asked me.
he said it's the least
Terrible.
favorite.
Everyone went on a tangent and I couldn't get it
You
in.
just got to shout, man.
If I had a penny, go on.
Yeah. No one said anything about the Hoover, where you hoover up like the honey and the other platforms to
Oh
bounce off.
shit!
Oh, the
That was like
elephant.
that
Oh,
was a
shit.
true one and
Yeah,
done
the
one, wasn't
elephant.
it?
It
Yeah.
was.
I
I
really like that
enjoyed
one.
that. I think there could have been more stuff for you to like hoover up, but I enjoyed like using that to like try and get to like different platforms and stuff.
That again is
Um,
not original as a
That
power
was
up.
just flood.
no, I
That one
know.
was the most flood one
No,
of them
no,
all.
it's the
Yeah.
cloud. It's the cloud mushroom.
Yeah,
The
that's
cloud
Galaxy.
from Mario
Yeah.
Galaxy.
Yeah, it's you spin and you got a cloud. I think again, it's not
Yeah.
original, but yeah, I think it was well done in the fact that you could change materials.
Yeah, there was one level where you had to like platform between like loads of different areas, and the way that you went determined like what like platform you could make.
Yeah.
So like you got like the honey one, which let you bounce higher, the grey one, which was just like a solid platform. No, I enjoyed that. And then my least favorite was the ball because it was just so slow and
I love the
tedious.
ball.
I liked the ball.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about the ball. I think it might have been the sounds that were coming out of the controller were always really, really good when you were
When
using the
my
ball.
bullets were raining down on you as well.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
thought
When
that
you're
was-
getting hit with the bullets, so it's like, yeah, no.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. I don't
good.
know. Yeah, everything about the ball I enjoyed. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Felt like I
Right.
had weight to it as well.
It did. That was the thing that I didn't like though, was because I just felt like I was just going really slow. When I feel like if I was like a better ball, I could have gone faster. Like if I imagine rolling into a ball like Sonic and
Yeah.
going fast.
So yeah, like a simple charge up would have been cool, definitely, like to go fast.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
in terms of like power ups and stuff, I think you got to remember. So Team Asobi, they're not Nintendo. They haven't been making Mario games for fucking ever and ever and ever. I think there's still plenty of room for improvement, but I think right now for them, I think this is as perfect as it can get. You know what I mean?
Another negative point, building on what you said, is that the game doesn't have any built-in accessibility stuff, which I, for once, actually cared about.
It's mad for a Sony game, isn't it?
Yeah, so because exclusively when I was playing this game, I was right next to a sleeping baby, and you don't realize how loud that controller is when the haptics are going off.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, great, that I've realized this now after I've woke her up. I'm going to go in the settings and either turn them off or turn them down, and you can't do it. I had to go into the actual PS5 settings, thankfully there are some, and turn off that. I had to play the game with no haptic feedback, which I felt, which was not nice.
How did you do the hand puzzle?
The hand puzzle, like with the boxes.
Yeah, with the
Where you
box,
had to,
you
like,
got to
rub up
choose which
against
box you're
it.
gonna push.
I'd literally just push them all every time.
To be fair, yeah, there was no negative to just running into it.
Yeah,
so
thankfully you
that was
can do it. Like it could have broke the game for me, but thankfully it didn't. And yeah, I had to turn the speaker right down as well because that is also blaringly loud when you're trying to be as quiet as possible.
good. Yeah.
So that was something straight away, which like it can't be a 10 out of 10 with that, especially nowadays with accessibility and stuff.
I mean,
Um,
I complained right at the start just because of settings anyway, because I was complaining that there was no sensitivity option like at all. I just felt there was a lack of settings in general. I know some
Yeah.
people might say that's stupid, but I just don't see what the problem would have been to just let you turn the camera.
It's not stupid. It's just not very common in any.
To have I feel like every game I ever play has a sensitivity option.
in
for camera.
FPS maybe, but in terms of like a platform, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen sensitivity options for the camera.
It was just one of the issues I had. But I felt like turning was painfully slow. And to be fair, I know most of the stages are just you walk forward. You don't have to turn around. But in situations where you did,
Where you're
it was
searching
very
for
slow.
bots, when you're searching for alternate paths, you gotta take all the
unnecessarily
time.
slow.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I get you.
And I would have liked to have just turned it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Next point.
go on then.
Go on.
He's got loads of points there. Come on, tell us about it.
I've got a few, yeah. So this is getting a bit more nitpicky now, but I hated the swimming controls. I was like, oh, we've got a water level. If there's any game that can do a water level good, it's going to be this game. And for some reason, you can only control like how deep you go with the angle of the camera.
Yes,
you cannot control with how. And I thought because it's that one level where you're underwater pretty much the entire time, and so you have to press A, X, which is completely like not precise at all. And so I thought that was because that level could have been so good if they just made it entirely directional based, and if you wanted to rise up quicker, then you can hold X. Like I thought that was a decision not based off capacity or anything like that, which was the wrong decision in my personal
They
opinion.
could have just got put down on the circle, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Go down.
I hate that every time I do a water level in video games, all it comes down. I feel like I never can even enjoy it because the moment it starts in my head, I go, "Is this going to be the first good water level I've played in a video game?" And then it just never is.
Yeah.
And yeah, this game definitely did the same thing where I was hoping this would be the one, and it wasn't the worst one I've ever played, like at all. But it wasn't enjoyable. It was probably one of my least favorite levels purely just because I don't like water levels because no game seems to be able to do them properly for some reason.
Ukulele and the Impossible Lair is probably the closest to a good water level that they do. The controls in that game, like when they do the water level, works really well. You have a lot of control over it while it's still feeling floaty.
Yeah.
Sort of building on the initial point that I said about the base moveset and not really learning anything else to be able to tackle levels differently. This directly resulted in me stopping looking for all the bots in a level, or stopping replaying levels if I missed them, because I wouldn't have literally any more enjoyment like from replaying a level at all. I didn't find the level like easier. Well, I found it a bit easier, but you know, like it was still the same challenges. You still had to tackle the level pretty much in the exact same way. You just had to, you know, find the bots I actually got to the point where when I was really caring about the bots that when the UI at the top of the screen when you caught a bot appeared, I would get anxiety that there would be a
Yeah.
gap in between bots.
Same.
I'm like, please don't be a gap, please don't be a gap. Especially if there's been a bit too long of a gap, like in terms of time in
Yeah.
between them. I was like, please don't, please don't. And the same with the jiggies as well. Yeah, like so I didn't. That was a direct response to the lack of depth to the movement. But also, finally, on the point of replaying levels, I hated the fact that if you wanted to actually unlock a warp level, you had to leave the level.
Yeah, I didn't like
Yeah,
that.
no.
You had to leave it.
Yeah.
And it's okay in some cases, like in the giant the Iron Giant level where it was right at the beginning, like if you spawned
Right.
it, like that's fine. Or if it's right at the
Yeah.
end, then I suppose it's fine.
It
But if
should
it's
be at the
smack
end.
bang in the middle, is you just have to replay the level for no reason.
Because the thing, like, if you left the level, like in this, because there is some where it's right at the end and it's after the last bot and it's after the last jiggy, it still completes the level for you. You know,
Yeah,
it still marks it as gold, and that's the way it should be. It should be at the end.
Yeah, because the argument I was gonna make, well, not argument really, but I was gonna say I liked at least that if you went back into a level to collect stuff that you didn't get the first time, you didn't have to finish the level again. You could just leave the moment you collected it, which I thought was nice. But like Niall said, I don't understand why it caused you to leave the level. It sort of reminded me of like older Mario games where you collected the shine sprite in a level that you weren't doing, but you still collected a different shine sprite, and it would completely end the level, and you'd have to do it all over again. And I just think that's really silly. I don't see the point. Like, you could easily stand on the platform and it could give you an animation for unlocking the world and then just let you carry on. Or say, do you want to leave now or just something?
Yeah.
I don't understand why it forced you out. Like, if it was going to do that, like you said, it should have been an option at the end where you can just choose the different path and find the secret. It was just a bit weird.
It's worse than Sunshine in the way that Sunshine is you go into a level, you go off in different directions.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
one path from start
One
to finish.
path, yeah.
And so so like you say, if you need to go in, you need to do all that shit you've already done to get to the part where you were up to before that. So yeah, it is worse. But on the subject of Sunshine, by the way, do you remember when Sunshine first came out and everyone complained about the flood mechanic and how you could float and stuff like that, and they kind of called it easy mode?
Yeah.
Why is it okay in Astro? Why does it feel okay in Astro? Because it's the exact same mechanic. So when you press X after you've jumped, you're basically doing the flood thing.
I mean, I think in Astro you have a lot less. You have a lot less time to figure out your game plan.
Yeah.
The amount of airtime you get in Mario Sunshine is significantly more. And I think as a result you have a lot more control. Because again, I think Mario Sunshine, at least in regards to the flood thing, it's way less. Astro is very much, it lets you float, but it doesn't really halt your momentum in any way.
Yeah.
Like, you're still going the same speed, if not faster. So I think it can make landing those jumps kind of tricky. In Mario Sunshine with Flood, when you jump and use Flood, or at least the double jetpack one, it completely slows you down. Like, it brings you to like a complete halt where you barely move forward. And it sort of makes stopping at the jump you want really easy because you just have to hold down the button and you're pretty much not going to move. So I guess maybe that could be an argument for it. Is that I think if I was comparing the two, I would argue that it is significantly easier to adjust yourself in Sunshine compared to this. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't. It's not like in this when you use like the little lasers to float. It gives you a ton of time to like react. It's sort of like a Hail Mary last thing where it's like I can float for a second here. Maybe I can reach this platform that I'm just about to miss or something like that. Whereas in Sunshine, it's very much you get like 4 seconds in the air where you can just sort of pick where you want to go. So I guess maybe that would be an argument for it. But I just think it's different times. I think people maybe are just less naggy about that stuff now.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like Mario Sunshine was at a time coming off the back of really difficult games where you were even at a point where you were still struggling to have like games that involve like saving and stuff, and it was just sort of like raw skill. I think we've definitely got to a point now where people care less about that, and it's just sort of like
it's the fact Astro did it from the beginning as well. Whereas it wasn't an added mechanic; he did it in Playroom as well. It was it's just always part of his moveset. We're getting towards 55 minutes now, so we're going to go around the faces for any final words, Alex.
I'll just say one of my favorite levels was the day and night level.
We changed from sun to moon. Yeah,
That level was fantastic. Yeah, really enjoyed that level.
I really
Put a big
liked it.
smile on
It
my
was a
face.
pain in the ass to get all the stuff in that though. I remember I had to
I
do
got
a
it
couple of
first
times.
try.
Oh, what?
I think that was one of the rare ones that I did get it first try.
Oh well, fuck me, I guess. Niall?
Yeah, it's a great game. Definitely. I don't
shit.
think it's 10 out of 10, but I think it's a great game.
Good shit. Lewis?
Yeah.
This game made me realize that it's not X and it is in fact cross, and it made a lot of sense to me because it's meant to be shapes. So why would it be X when all the other ones are shapes? But I'm never gonna call it cross.
I'm still gonna call it the X button.
But it made so much sense though, where I was just sort of like, I can't argue here. Like, it is cross. It's a shape like all the others.
It's always been weird. We've never called it the O button instead of the circle button.
That's what I mean. It's just I don't understand how X happened, but I'm not changing it now. I'm never changing it.
Yeah,
but it did give me the realization.
Press X. So final words from me. So I spent a long time thinking about this because my current favorite game, because it does change, is Mario Odyssey. Because it used to be Twilight Princess, but you go back and you play it over and over again. You start to see the cracks. You start to see the things wrong with it. But Odyssey still, I play it every single year, and it's still amazing. It's still a 10 out of 10 experience every single time. And I think to myself, is this better than Odyssey? And I don't think it is. I think all the stuff Niall brought up about the lack of movement and stuff like that, that's what makes Odyssey. Obviously, you got all the great power ups as well and all that kind of stuff. And I think power ups feel more like
More substantial.
More substantial is the fact that you're actually possessing an enemy.
Yeah,
makes it feel better. And
sounds like you're changing your score, yeah.
No. It's still a 10 out of 10. It's just not as much of a 10 out of 10 as Odyssey is.
Okay, I see.
But I think that Team Asobi, they can go, because we know there's going to be another one. They've said in the Platinum Trophy, they said look out for it on Astro's next adventure. We know they're going to make another one. But they're going to be the Astro studio, and that's completely fine with me. Just keep pumping them out every few years, and we'll buzz it. And they're just going to learn more, and they're going to develop, and it's going to get up there. You know what I mean?
Can I bring this up?
If they watch this episode.
No,
that's true. Can I bring this up with the idea of a sequel? Do you think they've run dry on the whole, the game is about PlayStation this, PlayStation that? Do you think they're going to have to move on from that somewhat? Because what else can they do, really, in regards to that?
I don't know. They need to, if they're going to do it, they need to flesh out Astro's world and take him out of the flying PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
because I never played the first one. I never played the first Astro, the VR one. I don't know if that was PlayStation centric or not.
I've seen gameplay, but I haven't played it. From what I could tell, none of the levels that I ever saw were very PlayStation focused or PlayStation centric. It was just sort of like generic worlds where you just go and save the Astro Bots. So I don't know if it turned into a PlayStation thing with Astro's Playroom.
Yeah, it might just to celebrate PlayStation, and I get exactly what you're saying. They are going to run dry. That's just the way it is. I think they could do more like big levels like they did with like Loco Roco and Ape Escape.
Yeah,
well, that's what I was going to bring up. I think in a sequel we need to see more of those. I think it just needs to be Astro going into different worlds, like something like that. He's in the Uncharted world, he's in the Loco Roco world, he's in the Sly world, he's in the Ape Escape world, he's in Jack world.
Yeah, but again,
I think it needs to be something like that.
They're going to run dry at that really quickly. I think, like what I was saying, I think they need
to shift away
Well, no, I feel like that's what they would lead into. Yeah. Like that is what I would want to see, is like them expand on like all the different power ups.
Because they can't do the collecting artifacts things again from the first game, because we did it already. We collected every PlayStation I've ever made. The second one was kind of retreading the first one with the whole rebuilding the PlayStation thing, but they still managed to sort of turn it into its own thing with the level. The levels weren't necessarily
the characters.
The levels themselves weren't PlayStation focused. It's just the theme of the game was PlayStation focused. But I feel like if they do another game, they can't do anything like that, because like, what could they do? We're not building a console again. We've already done the PS5 thing. We've already seen 300 and whatever PlayStation characters. Like, I feel like it needs to sort of try and be its own thing if it wants to continue existing, rather than just being look PlayStation, which I like, but you can only do that so much.
I think he
before-
can. I think he can stay in the PS5 ship, but I think like I say, he needs to take that ship to new worlds that aren't
Yeah.
PlayStation focused. But it's a strange one because they feel like they've dug themselves into a hole, because that is the reason everyone loved Astro's Playroom, because it was a love letter to PlayStation kind of thing, and they've obviously continued that here.
I do, but I also feel like that was a gateway, though. I feel like
Yeah.
that was a good way to make people go look at this character, look what we can do with him. We've got a really fun gameplay mechanic behind all of this, and I feel like this second game did a good job at, like, again, showing what the gameplay is like while also focusing on the PlayStation stuff that you like. I feel like they've offered up a lot or enough where it doesn't have to be the central focus of like it being about PlayStation things. You can sort of maybe shift it a bit to the side. I'm not saying don't have PlayStation stuff at all.
Yeah.
It just doesn't need to be the primary focus of the game.
Yeah, they've cemented him as the mascot now. He is the PlayStation
Yeah, for sure.
mascot.
Which is impressive in like the modern day to
Yeah.
create a new mascot for your franchise. That's kind of mental.
It is, man. It took a few attempts for him. It's because I think there's been 4 Astro games now. There was the VR one, and there was another one, but I can't remember exactly what
There
it was.
was the one on PS4 from like 2013 where it was on the camera thing. You
That's
could
the
like
one, yeah.
play with him in a controller and like flick them out. Then it was the VR one. Then it was Playroom, and then
Yeah, so they took a few attempts, but they've got there now. He is the PlayStation mascot. It's just what they
yeah,
do with him
for
next.
sure. I'm excited to see it though.
Same.
For sure.
Exactly. We'll watching it closely here on PTR. But I think that's it from everyone. So we it was somewhere between a 9 and a 10. That's what we gave.
9.675.
Yeah, let's call it a 9 point. Let's just round it down to a part of 5. Let's call it 9.5. From the 20 point scale. So that was our review of Astro Bot. We shall see you later.
Bye. That was a long one.